This is the story of the day David's grandmother called him a chameleon, and how it turned into his worst day ever.
The worst day of my life was nothing to do with going to jail or anything else, prison, any of that stuff, mental hospital, none of that stuff. The worst day of my life was towards the end of the first quarter of 8th grade. And I got called to the principal's office, which was pretty normal. But anyway, I get this call to the principal's office. David Wood, report to the principal's office. Thinking, okay, what am I getting in trouble for now? I go down to the principal's office. I walk into the principal's office, and there was a meeting. There's the meeting room there. I walk in there, and it's the principal, the vice principal, the guidance counselor, like 4 of my teachers, my mom, her boyfriend, and my grandmother, all around a table, like intervention style.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, what is this? Turns out they'd been talking about me behind the scenes and stuff. And it was a weird situation. I have to sit down. And then they start going around the room telling stories about stuff I did. But here's the thing. There were people in that room that I liked, and there were people that I didn't like. If I didn't like someone, if I didn't like a teacher or something like that, over time, I would pick up on what annoys that teacher, and I would just do more of that. Whatever ticks off this teacher or something like that, I would keep doing more of that so that I, over time, morph into this teacher's like worst nightmare. And then if I liked a teacher or liked like my grandma or something like that, then I find out what they like over time, and I do more of that. And then they think I'm this really great, wonderful person. They each start talking about the stuff I do, and like a teacher would say, here's what he's like in my class, and they would all look at me like, what? He's like that? And would get around to like my grandma, and she would say, what? I never have any problems with David, blah, 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 blah. And they're looking at me. But so the result is that I acted like a different person for each person in that room.
That's funny.
And all of a sudden, my grandma turns after multiple stories of stuff I did, and they all turn to me and they're like, what? That's David? Because I sounded like a different person for each one of them. All of a sudden, my grandma turns and goes, David sounds like a chameleon. And then for the rest of this meeting, they all start calling me the chameleon because I'm changing for each one of them. But that just made me feel like a supervillain, and I felt really cool. So anyway, that was a cool takeaway. But what was really, really terrible was just that realizing that I'm being exposed, and that how I am is all coming into the light, and everyone knows it now. Because before you're thinking, oh, they're not onto anything I'm doing. But yeah, so anyway, point there was letting your true self be exposed when you spend your entire life like not letting people know what you're up to and so on. That is terrible, and it was also very, very significant. But anyway, the point is, it's good. It is good for a manipulator, a narcissist, a psychopath to be exposed, because that is the only hope of any sort of change or redemption.
As a wise person once said,
I see your true colors
shining through. You can't even sing, man. You can't even sing without choking. You see, you'll get exposed.